Hi, I'm Adam.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Chris.
And you're watching Flack.
Where the only thing on the endangered species list is brevity.
Ooh, brevity.
Yeah. All right, so we've... Are you okay with that, Austin?
Just start talking more.
We've got an interesting story to talk about this week, which is the fact that the polar bear was recently placed on the endangered species list, or threatened species list. The polar bear is currently undergoing some sort of duress, and we have placed it on a list as a result. But the reason why is interesting, because polar bears, I can't remember the exact number, but basically polar bears, since the last time we took like a big counting of them, or like over the last 30 years or something like that, have almost doubled in their population. So we're not running out of polar bears. That's not the issue. What we're saying is because global warming is likely going to threaten the polar bears at some point in the future, that we need to place them on the threatened species list, because eventually their big chunks of ice floe are going to break apart. They're all going to float apart from each other. They're not going to have anywhere to live. They're not going to have stuff to eat because the desalinization of the ocean is going to kill. It's basically the polar bears are going to lose their habitat and go insane because I drive an SUV to work. And I guess the point that I wanted to bring up with this was this is interesting because I saw an immediate parallel to the doctrine of preemption in the current political climate. Iraq hasn't really done anything to us yet, but they could.
And they probably never will.
But they could, and so we're going to go in and start a war. Iran hasn't done anything to us yet, but they could, so we're going to go in and start a war. The polar bears aren't exactly dying yet, but they could, so we're going to go in and save them.
It is possible.
And what I just think of is interesting about that is we've got the left and a growing portion of the right very unhappy with the war on the doctrine of preemption. But in this case, it's the left that's perpetrating the preemption. I wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Whoa.
You mean the left will use preemption?
Preemption to save polar bears.
Well, yeah. In this case, it seems kind of okay. Because preemption could be considered good stewardship.
Sure. I agree with that. Preemption can be good stewardship.
But
well,
what does this mean for the polar bears? Does it mean that
it doesn't really mean anything? It's all pretty much
because the U.S. we don't actually own the North Pole, do we?
Not as of yet. Santa Claus has been building some weapons of mass destruction. We may have to go in and take that crap over.
If there's oil there, I have no doubt that we'll annex it very shortly. But what if we say that being put on the endangered species list means that we can't kill them?
We can't kill them. We have to protect their habitat.
Well, there goes my annual hunting fest.
Yeah, into the Yukon. I will probably be publicly ridiculed when I wear my polar bear suit out in public now. It's
made from real bits of polar bear.
Yeah, just bits of polar bear.
Someone's going to open a can of spray paint on that.
Oh,
so I've got a couple issues with this.
But I'm still curious. Okay, I'm still curious what the heck it means. When we are, if
I have to confess,
it means they get a stamp.
Endangered.
They get a stamp. So look out for the polar bear stamp.
I'm okay with the polar bear stamp, but how that we don't own the North Pole. There are no polar bears in the United States. There's certainly no polar bears in the United States that we're hunting. So, what exactly does it mean?
I don't know.
No, there are polar bears in Alaska, right? Aren't you from Alaska?
What do you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, there are polar bears there, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, way up in the north.
Way up in the north.
The Arctic Circle.
Yeah. I see.
So maybe, but this is the Interior Department, which normally leaves Alaska alone, just like everybody else, including Alaskan citizens. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So do polar bears ever
no one lives up there.
Does this means that polar bears now have the right to maim Eskimo babies?
We don't know. I have a scant 2
the
paragraphs.
The Eskimos don't care, I'll tell you that right now.
I've only got 2 paragraphs. I'm looking more at the big picture here.
All right. Sorry. I understand your big picture questions. I was just kind of curious if this was going to affect my life.
I don't think so. No, I don't think that essentially you can't, there's not going to be any excursions to go hunt down all of the polar bears and kill them or anything like that.
Well,
Besides that, they're being on the endangered species list
when you
doesn't
think
do
about
anything.
it, what animals
More
are on the
publicity.
endangered species list, and have you ever cared before?
Well, I do know that bald eagles just recently
Came off,
came
and
off
so
the
and so
endangered
you
list.
can hunt them
But
again,
you,
and
no,
you were an
still
avid
can't.
hunter.
You
Oh.
still
can't
can't
hunt
hunt them.
But it didn't
There's still
affect your
federal
life.
legislation that prevents you from hunting them, but they're no longer endangered.
It never affected your
They
life,
were never
though, right?
Never ever.
Then polar bears are going to have a similar effect, likely. But
However, I'm a big penguin rights activist, and I can tell you what, this is a sad day for penguin
no,
kind.
that's the wrong poll. Come on, don't you read the Far Side? Seriously. Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
all right.
You have a couple problems.
I have some facts.
Besides
here.
Austin's brain damage.
Someone needs to. They're showing the videos all over television of the poor polar bears swimming to, in the middle of the ocean over to the iceberg. People don't think polar bears swim. They can swim up to like 30 miles or something. It's like a whale. They take one breath and they just swim for 30 miles. Polar bears are not, they make it, I don't know if you've seen any of those videos, but they make it look like the Arctic Circle's just breaking up and all the ice caps there's nothing
Sure.
left there's no land there for the polar bears to stand on.
There's,
And it's just not true.
there's several million
And polar
square
bears
miles,
are used to
right?
swimming long distances to go find food on different caps of ice and so forth.
It's not like there's much hospitable land to live on at the North Pole
No.
anyway.
And there's
a reason why we don't live there.
There's about 2 million
Because of polar
square
bears.
miles of unhospitable land
Okay.
up there.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of land.
So is that one problem? Because you said you had a couple problems. Does that about?
Oh, I had an
cover it all?
interesting story about the way that you can kill a polar bear by taking a knife and putting some blood on it and stick it into snow, and the polar bear. I
Will
think
eat the
polar bears
knife.
will do. I know wolves will do this. They'll come up and they'll lick the knife. They'll lick the blood off the knife, and if it's a double-sided blade, you'll cut the polar bear's tongue all to pieces, and then it bleeds to death. And that's one
Out
way.
of its tongue? What type of fragile animal is this?
No, there's a lot of you
Yeah.
get a lot of little capillaries in that old tongue.
Okay. You take a person, you cut off their tongue. Are they going to die? No,
Probably.
It happens all the time. My cousin bit
In-
off his tongue.
in-
He was
really?
cool.
In Quentin Tarantino movies.
If you get it fixed up really quickly, I'm sure it's not that big of a deal.
Put it in milk. Take it to the doctor.
So
Pasteurized
that's one
milk.
way that the natives up there used to kill animals, from what I understand. And you would think maybe I know a thing or two. I'm from Alaska, but maybe I don't.
No.
No, but I'm against that. So I'm against some. That's not a good way to kill an animal, in my opinion.
That's pretty gross.
That's gross.
And that is a magnificent tangent from the issue at hand.
It is. Well, I thought that would be a great tangent. My point
no.
is just that polar bears aren't in danger, and like as you said, their populations have grown. They're used to swimming around, so when you see the videos of a polar bear swimming, trying to find an ice cap, floating in the water, don't think, oh, poor polar bear. He's having a swim. That's what they do.
He's having fun. He's taking a dip. If
He's
you will.
going to find an animal to bite into and bleed to death.
I can see what you're saying about, to get back to what you were saying about preemption, because I've often thought that the way the left regards global warming is the same as the way the right treats terrorism, which is we need to be preemptive about it because it's this big, huge nebulous threat that only something as big and monolithic as the government can deal with. And so both of them use it the same way. We need to give up personal liberty and be preemptive and give the government more power because these issues are so large. So this just reinforces my perception that the left treats global warming the same way that the right treats terrorism.
And there really isn't so much of a difference between the parties as there is a just slight divergence on talking points these
It's
days.
exactly right. They do the exact same thing, which is create more government power, give the government more power. They just do it in different areas so that we don't notice that they're fighting for the same thing, which is more government control over our lives. Simple as that.
And a better future life for the polar bears.
Yeah.
Always excellent. Well, thank you for watching Flack.